Good morning, it's Rick from Jericho here at the Pan American location. That's 6921 Pan American, Osuna and the freeway. The Jericho on Osuna is what we like to call it. As you know, we have our other location on 101 Alameda. That is our flagship store, been down there 11 years. Both of the stores will have the plants I'm talking about today. I started here. We moved a bunch of the blooming stuff in the yard to right here so everybody could see it. We're using this new great camera that's supposed to be able to walk and talk at the same time. We're going to test and challenge that a little bit. This plant right here, Althea Rose of Sharon, blooms the rest of the summer, 6 to 8 foot tall, gets bigger and bigger every year. The one behind me, Lavender, I am going to put a few more lavender into my yard because I was out in Corrales this week and I was at a big lavender plant that was full of bees. I just put a beehive in my yard, so it's got to be a pollinator here. So lavender also blooms. Lavender Festival next weekend at the Los Ranchos Market down on Rio Grande. The one he's zooming in on now, crepe myrtle, also blooms all summer long. When they get done blooming, and there's not one close enough, I'll just take the littlest one. Soon as they're done blooming, cut them off and they'll bloom again. Do not let that, what looks like a bud, when it's done blooming goes to a seed. It's hard to tell the difference, but soon as they're done blooming, you want to cut that off, it will bloom again. Oleander. How big does oleander get? If you're from California, oleander is used in the medians of the highway so you don't see the other side of the traffic, so they can get to 10 to 12 feet. Not here. Never seen a 12-foot oleander in Albuquerque. Rarely do I see them over 4, 5, 6 feet because just cold enough here in the winter time that they can get some winter damage, but they do come back. So that's another one. Roses to my left are still blooming. I have a couple of roses I put in this spring that are blooming again. So another kind of what's trending, what's going on, what's blooming in town right now. Roses are something that kind of continues to bloom and to bloom and to bloom. As he makes his way back to where we started, the butterfly bush, also called summer lilac. Should soon as it's done blooming, you want to cut right back to there. So that old bloom, new growth coming right here. So we took that, and I should probably get a pair of pruners, but you see what I did? I took that growth to right there. You can see buds forming on these two. So you just cut these back as soon as they're done. That one will take there because that bloom's coming. But see those branches right there? They're coming from right beneath the old bloom. So cut them back, more blooms to come. They'll come faster if you cut them back. They'll bloom if you don't, but if you cut them back, they'll bloom faster. Dark purple one's one of the favorites we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Dark dye. Get real close looking at it. It's got an orange throat to it. Orange throat, trumpet vine starting to bloom all over town. Some people even say obnoxious or noxious weed. One of the gals that works for me says one of the cities, one of our neighboring cities, is knocking on somebody's door she knows and saying you have to take this out. I don't hold that as truth as far as being a noxious weed, just telling you that because it's extremely hardy, extremely fast growing, and again, great hummingbird attractor, attract hummingbirds all summer, bloom for the rest of the year. Back to more crepe myrtles in different colors. We started up there. The butterfly bush in front of me here, our dwarf butterfly bush. So you can get almost any size, any shape, any color in the stuff we talked about and control sizes and shapes and colors from little ones to big ones. The little butterfly bush are dwarf. We said 6 to 8 foot on the Althea, 6 to 8 foot on butterfly bush, but Tutti Frutti and Lo and Behold are much smaller, and the crepe myrtle we've got some dwarfs and ones that would stay much smaller, though I do feel like you can control the size of crepe myrtle just with some pruning as we make our way back this way, and then we'll make our way back to the front because it's worth showing. As we come over to autumn sage, I think it warrants talking about it. Most perennials I consider one-shot wonders, 4 to 6 weeks of bloom. That's what I tell you get. The plant comes back every year, but you only get 4 to 6 weeks of bloom. This beats all those rules. This is really more of a woody perennial, and you can see it blooming again. This is free blooming. It blooms a lot. It'll bloom off and on all summer long. And as far as the hummingbird attractor goes, probably one of the absolute best. So we looked at Althea, which is Rose of Sharon, that looks a lot like hibiscus, but this is truly winter hardy hibiscus. Really important that you're in a nursery, you're talking to your professionals, your perennial gardeners, of course, like us at Jericho, but any nursery you happen to go into. be careful going into box stores or grocery stores because there are tropical hibiscus and winter hardy hibiscus, and you really need to ask, is that a winter hardy one? We're going to show you a tropical one as well. These leaves are a little different. The tropical ones are always glossier. The flowers are usually smaller. We'll show you those in just a sec. Okay, so still a great selection of perennials. We did this a couple weeks ago. We're continuing. The one thing I'm continuing to buy is perennials. Buy 4, get 1 free, same size, same shape. All of these perennials are, as you can see, blooming, hardy, not too hot to plant. Go ahead and do it. And then we still have a great selection of annuals. That's the front stuff. And people come in and say, wow, look at your selection. Our annual selection, I have not shopped the competition, but I'm fairly confident we have one of the better selections of annuals in town. Lots of stuff that can go out right now. Right here, and this is what I want to show, and we'll stop with before we show the hibiscus. Right here are some small ones. That's Lantana. I want to show you some beautiful ones over here. My potato vine in the last 2 weeks has quadrupled in size. It has gone from this to literally twice this. It's touching the ground in the whiskey barrels at my home. So extremely fast growing, loves the heat, potato vine. Great textures and colors from the chartreuse to the tricolor to what they call blackie or the dark purple one. So some great contrast to something against this. I mean, this is, and we're going to take this way. This is how we're going to go. Okay. Stop, action. We still have our supplier, Milt, planting our containers for us, so you can buy a container already grown. If you don't want to go to all the work, we'll do it for you. That Mandevilla with the pink flower, great tropical plant, blooms, grows like a weed, needs to be brought in the wintertime, but nothing wrong with that. Look at that flower, it's absolutely gorgeous. So from Mandevilla, and what I brought you over here to show you, and it's very similar to the hibiscus, you need to ask your professional. Lantana, which grows outside in much hotter, drier climates than we have. Phoenix, for example, but look at that. Isn't that a beautiful contrast? Here's what you need to know though. Most Lantana are not hardy in Albuquerque. There are 3. These are not them. Miss Huff, Marianne, and Chapel Hill are hardy Lantana. We have them, so ask for them. They're the only 3 Lantana that will survive our winters. They are zoned for zone 7. Zone 7 is 0 to 10 degrees. That's Albuquerque. Most Lantana are not zoned to grow here. But hard to beat that, isn't it? That's gorgeous. Here's a test of the staff. Maybe it makes the camera. We're going to see if somebody puts these away. So when you say hibiscus, most people think of Hawaii. And I hope that you can see, this is a great camera, so I hope that you can see the difference. Flower's a little smaller. See the leaf, how much different it is? It doesn't have the serration or the deep cuts to it. And typically the hibiscus that is not hardy, the tropical hibiscus, is a much glossier leaf. It's shiny and smaller and tighter. The winter hardy hibiscus comes back in the wintertime, but after winter, it freezes to the ground. These will not, and there's confusion over this all the time. People that don't know the difference, that there's a tropical hibiscus that cannot grow out and a winter hardy hibiscus. That's the question to ask. So again, great selection of stuff. We're moving the camera, we're trying to get on board with this moving thing. I'm freaking out a little bit, but that's okay. Come in, we're still here. We're your perennial garden center, dealing with lots of issues with people this time of year, people and their bug problems or their disease problems. Bring in some samples. We can fix just about anything. Lots of problems with bugs, some disease problems. Remember, the hose is your friend. Come in, hang out with us. Thanks for watching this video and allowing me to be part of your day. Come be part of mine. Thanks again.